One. Thanks for joining us here on 9 News Watch for a look at your headlines on this Thursday, September the 9th. I'm Chris Bianchi, and thanks again for joining us. And we'll start things out by taking a look at the exceptionally hot weather picture. And once again, we're 90s. Yes, it is late in the season for us to be as hot as what we'll be looking at, but highs today getting on up into the mid-90s. Denver's record high for today, 94 degrees. We will likely break that with an expected high of 95. Tomorrow, even a bit hotter with a high of 97 for tomorrow. And this is, of course, with that continued awful air quality, which will be due to a combination of wildfire smoke and ground ozone for today. May see some slight improvements in the air quality for tomorrow. But again, it will be very hot with high temperatures near 100 degrees, which again, very late in the season for us to be this hot. It does cool down a bit for the weekend, but we do expect some of that heat to stick around into next week as well. Now, with that heat in mind, several Denver schools are closing early or are closed altogether today and tomorrow due to that heat. Schools without air conditioning are the closed ones, and it is due to temperatures, as I mentioned, set to rise into the mid to high 90s both today and tomorrow, which is, once again, very, very late in the year for us to be this hot. Now, you can find the full list of DPS school closures over at 9news.com. Jefferson County Public Health has put a hold on its mobile vaccination clinics over the weekend because of harassment from anti-vaxxers. Staff have been hassled and someone even threw fireworks at them. 9 News reporter Luis De Leon explores increasing agitation and extremism aimed at public health officials and volunteers.
If you don't get a COVID-19 vaccine shot in, say, a building, you might get it at a mobile vaccine clinic like this one.
These clinics allow us to go where our community members are. That's why they're so important.
But Dr. Don Comstock, the executive director of Jefferson County Public Health, says it's those clinics that have faced some pretty harsh backlash from a handful of people. From yelling at workers from their cars to what happened over Labor Day weekend.
One car decided to
And at another site in Jeffco,
a car drove up to the clinic as if the individual wanted a vaccination. The individual rolled down the window and threw a cup full of liquid on the public health nurse.
They say it was just water, but they worry it could have been something worse. It got to the point where they shut down the clinics early this past Saturday and canceled them Sunday. They're back up and running. But these are just a few of the incidents Dr. Comstock says is happening more often.
We had an incident where an individual threw lit fireworks into the tent where our clinic staff are working.
She says no one has been hurt and that law enforcement gets called, but now they're working to step up security going forward.
People just need to know Jefferson County Public Health will not be intimidated out of its public health mission. I'm asking you to please treat them with the respect and kindness they deserve.
President Joe Biden will sign an executive order requiring employees of the executive branch of the federal government to get vaccinated. And by the way, that will also include federal contractors as well. Biden's going to have a speech this afternoon about a 6-pronged approach to combating COVID, and we will stream it live right here on 9news.com. Horrible story out of Prowers County, where a deadly crash last night killed 4 teenagers when an SUV crashed with a semi-truck near Wiley. A 5th teenager in the crash was airlifted to a hospital in Colorado Springs. 2 men in the semi-truck were hospitalized as well, though one of those 2 men has been released from the hospital. The 4 teenagers, meanwhile, that died last night, they ranged from 14 to 16 years old, and they were all students in the Wiley School District, which, by the way, is closed today due to the crash, though counselors and teachers are available at the Wiley School District for students to stop by. More than 1,000 miles away from the disaster site, members of an Aurora church spent last night packing up for a road trip. A group of mostly teenagers headed to Louisiana this morning with a truckload of supplies that they collected for hurricane victims. Here's 9 News reporter Jennifer Meckles.
We are packing up all the supplies for the disaster relief in Louisiana.
The mission is pretty simple.
And we're going to bring all of these in U-Haul trucks to help the people that were affected by the hurricane.
But 14-year-old Ethan Hernandez is learning.
Oh my gosh, that's going to be heavy.
Even the packing
is
tough work.
Please work. Be squishy. No, it's not squishy enough.
Toiletries, food, and other cleanup supplies fills the boxes that will fill the trucks, driven by volunteers from Peace with Christ Lutheran Church in Aurora.
So it's going to be quite the trip.
Ethan, along with a dozen other high school students and a few adults, are making the trek to Louisiana and back this week. Donna Patton
We want to love people well.
will lead the way.
There's going to be people who have been impacted directly by Ida, but there are people who were in Hurricane Katrina who just kind of got the rebuild done of generational homes. And here we go again.
A lesson in empathy for some volunteers who weren't even born when Katrina hit.
Yeah, I hope that they remember that we get the privilege to walk into people's pain and that people's struggle. We don't have to wait for an invitation. We don't have to wait for somebody to open their door. We get to come and we get to help.
This is Ethan's second trip on the road, serving another community.
I love that feeling, and I love being able to see the smile on people's faces, especially in hard times, especially in something like this, like a disaster.
And he is ready to get back to work.
Oh, we got gloves. We can put that in there.
Jennifer Meckles, 9 News.
Colorado Parks and Wildlife is offering a reward for anyone with information about a poacher who recently shot and killed a bear in Woodland Park. CPW said that the mother bear was killed in July and had unfortunately left 2 cubs orphaned. So sad. The 2 cubs are in a nearby rehabilitation facility, and they will eventually be released back into the wild once they have the skills to be able to do so. Anyone with information, though, on the poacher and the potential information leading to it should call Colorado Parks and Wildlife at 719-227-5200. Another air quality alert today from the health department says to remain indoors if possible. However, new research is showing that the smoke may be just as bad inside as outside. Here's meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen with more.
Wildfire smoke particles are microscopic, but you can see the smoke outside when you look at it in the distance. For example, if you look at the foothills from Denver, you are seeing miles of particles, everything between you and the mountains. Now look across the street at your neighbor's house. There is no smoke visible. That's because you are only seeing a few feet of particles. It's not thick enough to see there, but the air quality is just as bad in both locations. New research is now saying that wildfire smoke may be just as bad in our homes and in other buildings. The Environmental Protection Agency conducted a study in Missoula, Montana. They placed air quality sensors in large public buildings during the 2019 and 2020 wildfire seasons. The data won't be official until the research is published, but they say the air quality inside the buildings was no better than the air outside. They used large buildings like libraries, museums, gyms, and schools, which are often recommended as safe places during wildfires and heat events. But the wildfire smoke is also finding its way inside our homes. A study at UC Berkeley tested 1,400 homes and found that there was 3 times more fine particle pollution inside on wildfire smoke days compared to days without wildfire smoke in the air. The study also found that homes that used air filters in addition to closing windows and doors were able to cut the amount of those fine particles in half. Meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen, 9 News.
And finally, it is almost the weekend, which means there's everything from a potato festival in the St. Louis Valley to a chili fest to a Scottish, Irish, Celtic pride celebration in Estes Park, and that is complete with bagpipes. So pick out what you want to do this weekend over at 9news.com. Alex Kirk does a great job putting together that list each and every week. And that'll do it for your top headlines on 9 News Watch on this Thursday, September the 9th. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. I'm Chris Bianchi, and again, have a great rest of your Thursday.